Hi, and welcome to another episode where I take vintage old drive-in speakers, clean them up, fix the internals, and make them look absolutely swank. What we have here on the table is a vintage RCA speaker. RCA was one of many companies that made drive-in speakers, and they actually have a different internal than most other speakers, but everything still works about the same. This knob is not original to an RCA, and we will be replacing that. We'll also be repainting this thing because it is seriously scuffed up. And as you can see, it's being held on literally by tape. This screw is missing, and the wire that would normally be coming out of here is missing, so we definitely need to replace that. This unit was purchased on eBay from a seller in Winnipeg, Manitoba, so it definitely came from either a drive-in in Winnipeg or maybe North Dakota, somewhere around that prairie area. We're going to make this thing look absolutely fantastic when it's done. So this is the RCA unit that I recently received. RCAs were manufactured for drive-ins going back to maybe the mid-1940s, and you'll see that they'll have this nice lightning bolt logo on the front, and they should have it on the knob. Now apparently somewhere along the line the RCA knob fell off and they replaced it with this pointed knob. That's going to get replaced, and we'll put the original back on. And as you can see, this thing has been held together with a strip of yellow tape and one Phillips head screw. So let's see what we've got inside here. This shouldn't be too hard to open. I say that now. And the screw sort of comes out. Well, it's going to at some point. There we go. Let's get it fully out. There it goes. And the tape. There we are. Let's see what's inside. Now, as you can see, we've got the one wire from the volume control to the speaker. The speaker is held in with two screws, two flatheads, and I can tell right now the cone is absolutely destroyed. So we're going to need to replace the speaker and the volume control. And I also want to just take a look at a few other things in here. Look at this. RCA, Camden, New Jersey. And we really need this tape anymore? Yeah, I'm not thinking we do. Ugh. So this thing's going to need a full restoration, front and back. We're going to repaint the front, take off this old paint and put fresh paint on, paint the back as well, replace the knob, replace the speaker, replace the potentiometer controls, and put a new cable on. And you'll be joining me on every step of the journey. So I want to show you all the parts that came out of this. This was the remains of the potentiometer, and as you can see, it was pretty much shot. That's going to have to be replaced for certain. What's left of the knob, took a couple tries to get that off. And we have some screws here that would go up here and here, and then two more that hold the brace here. I'm going to have to get this brace off of this unit and flatten it out because I want to reuse this. Take a look at this. This is what's left of the speaker cone. As you can see, it's wrecked. And in fact, even if I could have replaced it, there's supposed to be two leads coming off of here, and there's only one. So this thing is nothing more than junk, and we're going to replace it anyway. We have the speaker right here. We got everything off as much as we could, and now we're going to see if we can get this paint off. And I'm going to use the aircraft remover and give it a good spritz and see if that'll get as much of this off as possible. The thing with aircraft remover, it's supposed to work. It's supposed to be able to melt the paint while protecting the metal. And I've had some success with this. It's not perfect, but I'm hoping it'll give me a better result than if I just stood here for days with sandpaper. We shall see. So I wanted to show you something here. This was what's left of the screw that was jammed in there. It had snapped off, and it's one of the reasons this unit was being held together with masking tape. It took a couple of days and about 3 drill bits to finally extract that screw, and as you can see, I probably tore the hole to bits. I'm going to have to probably use some Loctite or some other adhesive when I reassemble this. I also gave this thing a massive scrubbing. As you can see, this thing is now down to the bare metal. And I'm going to put it on this little stand because I need to give this a good coat of self-etching primer, which we have right here. Aluminum and paint do not mix well together unless you use a self-etching primer, which is exactly what I'm going to do now. So this is what the unit looks like with a coat of self-etching primer on it. And it looks really nice. You can still see the RCA logo, and anything that looks like scuffs and scrapes are pretty much covered over. Now what I'm going to do is decide on a color or colors to paint this. I'm also going to fix up the internals, and we'll get this thing running in nothing flat. Okay, so after much thought and consideration as to how I want to paint this thing, I've decided I'm going to give this a nice blast of reflective finish. So I'm going to use this Rust-Oleum Bright Reflective Finish, spray the front and the back, and see if I can make this thing glisten. So now we're going to start reassembly of the unit. And I mentioned before about how some of the parts in here were kind of trashed. So I do have replacement parts, like this replacement screen grill that I'm going to put right here. And this is going to protect our cone from anything that flies in that shouldn't. And this is the brand new speaker. It's a beautiful 4-inch unit. It's going to fit right perfectly. You can get these at almost any car stereo place, and they're pretty standard. Now, I also got some screws, replacement screws, for what was originally, this unit only had, if you remember earlier in the broadcast, it only had 2 functioning screws, and that's really not enough to protect from anything. So I ended up buying a bunch of new screws, and we're going to put them right in here, make sure that everything's tight. So this is what it looks like with the new speaker and the potentiometer put back in the machine. And as you can see, this is a brand new potentiometer. I reused the brace from previously, had to flatten it out. And I want to show you one of the reasons why I chromed this thing, why I painted it in chrome. Look, I even got a chrome dial that says RCA on it, just to match like the logo. So this is going to look great. Now all I have to do is wire up these connections and then reassemble the unit, and then we should be good to go. So I finished soldering and wiring this thing off camera. Essentially, the cord for the speaker goes this way. One wire goes to this port, and one wire actually goes to the pot, the potentiometer, the volume control. Then this blue colored wire will go from the potentiometer back to the speaker. This is one way to wire it up. There are other ways to do it. This is one I feel more comfortable with because there's fewer wires and it's easier to thread. Now I put a knot in here, and what's going to happen is when I reseal this unit, this knot will prevent the cable from being yanked out and damaging the soldering and probably pulling something out that shouldn't be pulled. So this is actually a safety feature. I've seen this when I've opened up other speakers. So if you remember from earlier in the video, I had to drill out that hole to get that chunk of screw that was stuck in there like it was bolted in. And in order to do that, it really took 4 or 5 different drills and a couple of days, and the hole got wider than the a new screw would actually fit. So what I did was I took some of this JB Weld, well, this and this, because I had to mix them together, and I packed the hole. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to close the unit up, I'm going to slide the screw in there, and I'm going to hope that the epoxy around it just hardens. I'll have another screw in the top, so that'll keep it at least stable. And then we'll let it sit for 24 hours, and then everything should be nice and tight. See, that thing just slid right in. There's really no rotational grip or anything, so I have to wait for the epoxy to harden right around that screw. On the other hand, up here, I can put the screw in and then use this fluted screwdriver to tighten it into place. And you know what? We're done. This has been repainted from its original scrunchy color. The back of the unit, the screws are nice and tight. It's not being held together by masking tape anymore. And we have a brand new connecting wire from drive-in-manufacturing-corp.com with the spade plugs on the end, so they can be hooked up to any speaker or amplifier, or you can even hook it up to a Bluetooth receiver if you wish. The knob is an RCA unit or an RCA replica to match up with the label and the logo. And I tested this thing out. It's been resoldered. It looks great. It sounds great. And we're done. Now, if you like what you saw here, I don't have an advertising campaign. I'm not sponsored by any websites or anything like that. However, I do put my artwork on my Etsy site, which is chuckmillercreatives.etsy.com, and the link is down below. And there you can see not only my drive-in speaker restorations, but also my photography and other projects. And if you like what you're seeing in this video and you'd like to see future ones, please let me know in the comments section below. And don't forget, as always, like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day and see you in the next video.